Everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining. Oops, my bad. Okay, so hi, I'm Vanessa, and for those who don't know me, I'm a project manager at the localization team and have been working at Globo for 2 years already. But today I'm not here to talk about translation, but bisexuality. Along with Marina and Patricia, I'm going to present this talk that we decided to call There's a Bee in My Soup, Bisexuality, the Great Invisible. Some of you are probably wondering why we chose this name. And the answer is very simple. Invisibility was the main issue we detected when we started thinking which topics to discuss today. And to be honest, it was also the reason why I decided to be here in the first place. As I said, Marina, Patri, and I will be giving this presentation today. Here you can see the topics that each of us will cover. And we really hope that you end up knowing a bit more about bisexuality than you did before this talk. So let's kick it off. First things first, what is bisexuality? It seems like a pretty simple question, right? But somehow it still raises so many doubts and people don't seem to really know what we mean when we say we're bisexual. So here's a short definition for you. Bisexuality is the potential to be attracted romantically and or sexually to people of more than one sex and or gender, not necessarily at the same time, not necessarily in the same way, and not necessarily to the same degree. It might still sound a bit confusing, right? But no worries, that's why we're here today. We want to share our experiences and help everyone to better understand what is bisexuality and what does it mean to be a bisexual person in the world that we live. The first topic we would like to address today is the visibility of bisexual people, focusing on the representation that we have on media and pop culture. There's this screenshot that you can see in the slide that has been on the internet for a while, and I always share it every time I see it because it just speaks so much truth. It reads, what's the difference between bi people and unicorns? I can see unicorns on movies and TV. Also, unicorns on TV are called unicorns and not horses that don't like labels. This is a great example because, at least from my point of view, the first trouble we face when we start to think that we might be bisexual and we want to learn a bit more, try to understand what is going on with us, is that we barely can find any references on movies, TV, books, and the ones that we find are not exactly positive. In general, there are many bisexual characters, so we can clearly see a lack of representation. A big part of them are depicted as confused, cheating, lying, so we can see that bisexual people are perceived in a very negative way. And in most cases, the word bisexual never even comes up. If a supposedly straight character suddenly has a relationship with someone of their same gender, they get asked if they are gay. The answer is usually no, because they aren't. But at the end of the conversation usually looks more like, I don't know where I am, why do we have to call it something, or similar. Of course, labels are not mandatory, but in the particular case of bisexuality, I think this lack of labeling just causes us to be less visible and even take more time than other LGBTQ plus identities to realize how we feel and how we identify. Luckily, this has been changing a bit in the last few years as diversity and representation are intentionally taken into account. But even so, I wouldn't say bisexuality is seen as often or perceived as valid as other identities are perceived. We will talk about this later in the talk, but since not everything can be negative, I wanted to share with you a quick reflection and maybe open some debate on the different ways bisexuality can be shown and depicted in media. I'm going to take the example of two characters from two TV shows whose bisexuality is present and represented, but in different ways. We're going to name them normalization and verbalization. And I would like everyone to reflect on which one can be better and help more to a representation of bisexual people and LGBTQ plus people in general. Of course, we can think that both of them are good, but it doesn't hurt to go one step further. First, we have Clark Griffin from The 100. I'm going to use her as an example of normalization of bisexuality. Clark has relationships with men and women without distinction. This doesn't surprise her environment, and the same thing happens with other characters that are gay. It's just normal and not even brought up as a thing. The word bisexual is not mentioned as far as I recall, because it's just how it is. It doesn't affect the character's life more than it would affect a straight character. I call this normalization because this is how normal looks for me. Someone just living their lives and nobody caring at all in a good way. I would also like to clarify how this normalization is different from the no labels that we were discussing before. In this case, bisexuality is seen and perceived and accepted as it is. There is no conflict around it, just like there is no conflict with heterosexuality. On the opposite side, we have the example of Eleanor Shellstrop from The Good Place. She doesn't actually have any relationship with women or other genders on screen, so to say. And some people have criticized the show because of this fact, saying that they were not showing her bisexuality. But I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. And that's why I chose this character as an example. This is the reality for many bisexual people, and that doesn't make them less valid. So for me, it's fine. Nevertheless, her bisexuality is mentioned and verbalized at different points. So we can use her as an example of verbalization of bisexuality. So do we want to be normalized or do we want to be verbalized? As I said, I think both is good, pun intended. But at this point, I think in general, we're not yet ready to treat LGBTQ plus identities just like we treat heterosexuality, because that would mean disregarding these identity struggles. So at least for now, I think we need to acknowledge, celebrate, and make these identities visible through verbalization. So in the future, we can truly see them as normal. I will let you think about it, and feel free to share your reflections in the Unicorn channel so we can all learn together. And that's it from me, passing it on to Marina now.
Hi, Globo. I'm going to tell you my experience coming out as a bisexual. A few key experiences that I think it shows really well how bisexuality is perceived by the rest of the world. So I come from a really traditional background and from a Catholic school. So bisexuality wasn't normalized, but it didn't exist at all. So I remember when I was a kid, the only reality I perceive is if you were a girl, you should like a boy, and that's it. But I can remember on those age, I like girls, but I thought it was just a special admiration because I couldn't think that was a possibility at all. But yes, I tried to avoid the fact that I like them. How could I supposed to know that was possible if everyone around me was heterosexual? So yeah, when I was older, I started to explore my sexuality, but as it was expected for me, just with men. But I kept thinking that I wanted to explore with women too. But yes, that confused me a lot, and I kept thinking that I was really weird, that I was maybe lesbian, and I didn't want to accept the fact that I was lesbian. Even on those age, I actually was aware that homosexual was a condition, was a reality. But how could someone like both? So yes, I kept thinking that I was a perverted, a degenerated, or something like that, and I keep hiding how I was. So yeah, as I said, for many years I kept as a secret, and I kept fighting against my mind. But when I was 20, I decided to tell to my friends how I felt. And I remember perfectly their reactions. They were saying they were basically invalidating and laughing at me, saying that some of them were saying that I was lesbian and I didn't want to accept. Another of them were saying that that wasn't possible because I never had a girlfriend. Or even some of them were saying that I was doing that to attract men or to excite men. So imagine for so many years trying to avoid a reality, and when I came out, that was the reactions. So my reaction was to retract myself, and yet not accepting how I was. But nowadays I'm 100% that I am bisexual, and I don't need anyone to tell me if I am or not. I don't need anyone to validate my condition. It would have been lovely to have some of the reactions as thank you for sharing this with me. Thank you for trusting me and share something personal with me, and we are here to support you. And it keeps surprising me. How can someone judge what you feel? What are your feelings? Because it seems ridiculous for someone heterosexual. Imagine someone telling you like, no, you are not heterosexual. It's impossible that you like your opposite sex. So I don't understand why that happens. But yeah, it seems we are funny. So yes, with the years, I started to meet new people, traveling. So that allows me to explore and live my condition, and I felt much free. But then another problems started. So one of them was the sexualization by men of my condition, and another one was the lack of acceptance in the LGBTQ plus community. I wanted to tell you a personal history about that to show you that lack of acceptance. And it was that I was meeting a girl, and everything was perfectly between us. We really like each other, and suddenly she said she wanted to stop meeting me because at some point I was gonna run away with a guy, and she preferred to meet with a 100% lesbian girl than a bisexual. So yeah, imagine that hurts a lot to me. Like, why should I be unfaithful for being bisexual, or why should I deserve less the love of someone for being bisexual? So I think that's a good example that shows how it's perceived. But yes, that's why I would like to tell you that biphobia is around us, and you have your right to be bisexual. And what I mean with that is that no one should tell you how you are, what are your feelings, and we are here to show you that that's actually a reality, and speak up and feel free to show yourself, your real yourself. So I would like to show you a few examples of biphobia as the one I showed you before, but these ones are more around the out of the LGBTQ plus community. And we show here the most typical ones, but I'm sure we are missing some. So one of them is that everyone is bi. So that makes bisexuality invisible. Another one is that we are hypersexual. So apparently we are not able to commit with anyone. For people out of the LGBTQ plus community, our condition is good if just we are with a straight partner. Yeah, we are in a phase, we are in a stage, and it's gonna go. We are, or for some people, 100% gay, or for some of them, 100% straight, but not bisexual. So I would like to pass to Patri.
Okay, so hello, I'm Patri, and I'm gonna go through, as Nessa mentioned before, I'm gonna go through the biphobia within the LGBTQ plus community, and also would like to share with you some tips to be a good ally to bisexuals from our own perspective, of course. So yeah, in addition to what Marina mentioned about the biphobia outside the LGBTQ plus community, bisexual people are often excluded or invisible in LGBTQ spaces too. And I would like basically to share with you some examples of it. So some non-bisexual people inside the community believe that bisexuality isn't a valid sexual orientation. They deny sometimes bisexuality as part of the LGBTQ plus community, and so often we do not even feel accepted or represented inside the own community. That means that we do not feel sometimes that we can be open and actually ourselves inside our own community. Another thing that has happened, that has been happening for years, is that bisexuals are considered transphobic because a lot of people assume that bi is binary and means only attraction to two genders, man and woman. Bisexuality actually includes all genders. So, and that means cis, trans, non-binary, man, women, etc. A third stigma we face in LGBTQ plus community is that bi is considered just a phase a lot of times. And ultimately, we always end up choosing one side, right? So lesbian or gay. And also frequently bi men are told they can be bisexual. A lot of people believe that bi men are simply men who don't accept that they are completely gay. A good example of this is that we are three women here doing this presentation and coming out in front of you because it seems more accepted in women than in men. But please do not cry yet. We have tips to solve these stigmas and become a good ally, again, from our perspective. So yeah, let's go through them. Great. So by learning more about bisexuality, you are helping to make this world a more accepting place for bisexual people, of course. And it is on everyone to work together to build better, safer communities. So let's start. Here we have, here we want to share some simple tips on how to be a good ally. First of all, we all know that it all starts with education. So please educate yourself by reading articles or books, listening to podcasts maybe, or watching videos by people about their own experiences. It is super simple and basic, and you can find a lot of resources easily on the internet. Another thing you can do is not make assumptions. Please do not assume that someone's identity based on their current or previous partner or partners. The gender of our sexual or romantic partners doesn't define us. So take their lead on the language they use to describe their relationships and identify whether they identify as bi, pansexual, queer, or any of other labels under the bi umbrella, or maybe not even labels at all. The third thing you can do is believe us. In my personal experience, what has happened me most is lack of credibility, because I have been in a relationship for many years with a man. So it is really important that you please believe us when we come out to you. To believe by people about our own identity is the bare minimum of allyship. Well, another thing you can do, whether you are part of the bi community or not, is affirm and uplift the bisexual people in your life. And last but not least, if you see or hear an example of biphobia, address it by sharing that bisexuality is real and valid, as well as resources maybe to learn more about bi identities. Well, so to close this presentation, we want to remind you that even though other people may question your identity, your motives, your relationships, you are real, you are valid, you are inspirational, you are valued, and you are seen, which is super important. So today is for you, celebrate you, and yeah, be kind to you. So that's basically what we wanted to share with you, and we hope that our message arrived to you and we gave more visibility to bisexuality.
Thanks, everyone. I think we have some time for a Q&A. If you have any questions, any comments, anything, we're checking the chat and the Q&A, and we can answer live. And if not, you can always reach out to us if you prefer to do it in private. Anything, any doubts you may have, any comments, any questioning about yourself, maybe we can help, and that's what we're here for. So let me check if we have any. I think we've had a question regarding if we have any podcast to recommend, any educational resources. Maybe any of you, I can't think of anything right now.
Maybe if you join the Unicorns channel, we can share after the talk there with you some of them. I know Danny asked, what did I mean with everyone is bi? I answered there, but I don't know if you could see Danny. But yeah, what I meant is that some people say that every human being is bisexual by nature, and that invalidates our condition a lot, because it makes invisible that like we don't exist at all because everyone is bi. And yes, it's quite popular. I said that because it's quite popular because Freud was the one who said that. And I don't know, it seems that it's quite popular, and it invalidates not just our condition, but the homosexual, like that sentence invalidates all the conditions, I think.
We have one more question, I think maybe for Patrick. How is bisexuality different from pansexuality? If you want to cover that, if not, I can.
Yeah, you can go, of course.
Me then? Okay. So, well, I mean, I think we were going to include this, but it was just going to be super long. So at the end, we didn't. There are many similar identities or orientations, like multisexual orientations. At this point, I think it's more like about how do you want to identify, how do you feel comfortable, because in the past, I know it has been said like, okay, so pan includes all the or, identities, all the sexual identities, and bi is just for men and women, but we clarified that that's not the case. Bisexuality includes two or more genders. Maybe pansexuality can, I think it's more related to the fact that you don't care so much about the gender. You can like everyone despite the gender, and as a bisexual person, even if you like more than one gender, you don't have to necessarily like all the genders. So you can like women and non-binary but not men, either trans or cis, and so on. I think that's the main, but there are many opinions around this, and we didn't want to get so polemic, because of course we're only speaking from our experiences, and all three of us identify as bi. So maybe we have any pansexual person that wants to speak up. This is the moment.
I want to thanks for all the comments you leave on the post. Thank you for all the vibes, all the good vibes.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think if we don't have any more questions, we can. Yeah, we have one more. Well, I read it. How would you recommend to educate older folks in my family about bisexuality? What is the best metaphor you have found? Oh, wow, that's a difficult one, because I think the problem with bisexuality is even a bit more complicated to accept for older people. I mean, I have lots of older people in my life that are completely accepting with homosexuality, but when it comes to bi, it's like, what is going on here? It's confusing. I think, well, maybe Patrick can give more, because she has been the one researching about the how to uplift and to help bisexual people. But I would say speak up, just explain how you, I mean, well, it's too complicated. I'm going to let Patrick talk. Sorry.
Okay, well, it's of course there is not an answer, like a right answer. Of course, we are all here learning. We just wanted to share with you that bisexual exists and it's around us. And I know a lot of people like identify themselves as bisexual. And I'm actually coming out in front of you. It's kind of my first time because I was having that feeling, but at the end I was like, denying myself because everyone was laughing or not believing me. And again, because I'm in a relationship with a man for a long time ago, so it is difficult. But we are part of the community. It's important that we know that everyone celebrate bisexuality as well as we celebrate the other ones in the community. So it's about, again, it's difficult because normalize that, but no, we want the label because we are lacking visibility, right? So giving visibility is about educating. So I can share and share with you some books maybe and so on. Actually, I know there are books for kids also to understand bisexuality. So I don't know, starting with educating yourself and the ones around you, that I believe that's the most basic and important thing. And believe if someone tells you I'm bisexual, okay, fantastic, so great for you. But yeah, I don't know, there is not a good answer for that. Definitely everyone has their own experiences. And
Okay, so thank you everyone, because you're giving us so much love.
oh.
I think we want to close, so everyone has time to go to the next talk. Thanks everyone, and feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any more comments, questions, and we will be sharing resources through the Unicorns channel too.
Yeah, let's do that.
Bye everyone. Thanks.
Happy Pride.
Thank
Ciao,
you.
ciao.